Good afternoon. My name is Joe Prentice, and the spelling is Joe Prentice. I am police chief for the city of Okmulgee, and I also command the District 25 Violent Crime Task Force. With me is Carol Iskey, our district attorney, who sponsors the Violent Crime Task Force, and Sheriff Eddie Rice, who was one of the reporting agencies when this investigation started. I've got a brief statement that I'll read, and then I'll open it for questions and answer the questions that I can. As you know, Ivy Webster was reported missing to the Okmulgee County Sheriff's Office, and Brittany Brewer was reported missing to the Henryetta Police Department on Monday morning. I received a request shortly after to activate the Violent Crime Task Force. The task force began the investigation, and as part of that obtained a search warrant for the property on Holly Road. Because of the extremely large size of the property, we requested assistance from the OSBI. During the search, the bodies of 7 individuals were recovered. All were sent to the medical examiner for autopsies, and those examinations have been completed. Scientific identification has been obtained on all 7 of the individuals, and I have information regarding their injuries. That being said, it is important to remember that all of this information is extremely preliminary, and no official reports from the medical examiner's office have been issued. The injuries include Ivy Webster suffered 1 gunshot wound to the head. Brittany Brewer suffered 1 gunshot wound to the head. Rylee Allen suffered 1 gunshot wound to the head. Tiffany Guess suffered 2 gunshot wounds to the head. Mayo suffered 2 gunshot wounds to the head. McFadden suffered 3 gunshot wounds to the head. And Jesse McFadden appears to have shot himself in the head. I'm assisting the Violent Crime Task Force with the search, the crime scene, and the investigation were the following agencies: the Okmulgee County Sheriff's Office, the Henryetta Police Department, Henryetta Fire Department, OSBI, ATF, and the Muscogee Nation AG's office. That concludes my statement. I will answer any questions that I can.
Chief, when do you believe that these killings happened?
I don't know. Based on the investigation, we believe that the girls were spotted in Henryetta on Saturday night. Beyond that, I can't tell you.
Were the victims found in one spot?
No.
Whereabouts were they found?
Ivy, Brittany, and Rylee were found separately, approximately 150 to 150 yards apart from each other, and approximately a quarter of a mile southeast of the McFadden residence.
Do you think they ran away?
I don't have any evidence to indicate that, but there's no way to know.
And the other 2 victims?
Well, there's more than just 2 more. The other 4 decedents were found together approximately 450, 500 yards east and a little bit south of where the 3 girls were found, and they were all together.
Was anyone able to call 911?
As far as I know, there was no 911 call made.
And do we believe that all these killings happened around the same time?
I don't have any evidence to indicate otherwise.
Chief, what led you guys to getting that search warrant? Because Emmy's office was there immediately with you guys when you guys were doing that. Did you guys go to the property that morning because he was the person you're looking for and stumbled across something and then backed out like normal and asked for a search warrant?
Something very similar. That morning, deputies and task force members went out to the property in an effort to see if there was anyone there. While at the property, they got no response at the door, and they observed what they believed was a freshly disturbed area of dirt in the yard or the curtilage area around the residence. They came back and reported that, and we got a search warrant for the residence and the property.
Have you traced back this gun?
I'm sorry, one at a time.
Very similar questions. Have you traced back this gun, and how did McFadden get the gun, and what kind of firearm?
We did conduct an e-trace on the firearm. It was a 9mm handgun, and it was purchased in January of 2022 by Rylee McFadden.
When you were talking about disturbed dirt, are you talking about graves, for lack of a better way to put it?
That's what the concern was when it was observed. We have since discovered that the property owner, who is not the McFaddens were renting. The property owner had cleaned out a horse pen and had dumped that debris there.
So they didn't see a body and then back out?
No, no,
There weren't graves dug or anything?
No.
Gotcha.
no.
Did McFadden leave a note?
I'm sorry?
Did McFadden leave a note?
No note was found.
Do we believe that he executed them?
I don't know that I would use the term executed. I believe that McFadden shot all of the other decedents.
Did the victims have any defensive wounds or anything?
I didn't observe any. I haven't had any reported to me from the medical examiner's office, but I would caution you and remind you that this information is extremely preliminary.
And Chief,
Any other trauma to the body?
One at a time.
overall, what do you make of this situation? Family members tell us they believe this person planned this. What do you make of this? I'm guessing you've never dealt with anything like this before.
Several questions there. I follow the evidence, all right? And the evidence is that Jesse McFadden murdered 6 people and then killed himself. Beyond that, I don't know what his thought process was. Whether he planned this, and if he did, how long, I don't have any evidence to base an opinion one way or the other on that.
Was anyone tied up?
No.
Was there any other apparent trauma to the bodies other than these gunshot wounds?
None that I observed, but again, it's really early, and I haven't gotten anything from the medical examiner's
Chief,
office.
there was a text message sent to Ivy's parents Sunday night that was odd, they said. Do we believe that was sent by Jesse?
I'm not sure I know what text message you're talking about, so I can't comment intelligently.
Were there any signs of a fight?
I didn't observe any, no.
What's your theory of motive?
I don't think I want to speculate. I'm not gonna express a theory because again, I follow the evidence and I don't have any evidence to indicate what the actual motive was. And I'm going to be honest with you folks. Normal people that understand care, love, compassion wouldn't understand if I could come up with it anyway.
Chief, what kind of impact does this have on law enforcement? I mean, this is now 2 weirdly similar cases that you've had to deal with in just the last 6 months.
Law enforcement is pretty resilient, and we know what we signed up for, and we play the hand that's dealt us. So when we get a call, we go. And with regard to how anyone is responding to it since the event, I don't have any indication that anybody's having any difficulties. We are conducting the follow-up investigation, which is doing some cleanup interviews and documenting everything that we discovered, just like we do in any other case.
Have you heard from other parents, other teenagers? We heard possibly that more teenagers were invited.
I don't have any information along those lines. That's first I've heard of it.
Do we think he planned this?
I don't know.
Do we know if they were doing anything when the killings happened, like an activity of some sort outside?
Wasn't anything obvious.
Do you think he acted alone?
Don't have any evidence to indicate that there was anybody else involved.
Other than McFadden's rape conviction and his pending trial with foreign charges, did he have any more recent run-ins with law enforcement that would act as warning signs?
Not that I'm aware of. Absent his lengthy prison sentence and his Muskogee County case.
How well did you know this person? I'm assuming he was not a sex offender registered. Is this someone?
Are we talking about Jesse McFadden? I personally did not know him. My understanding is he was a registered sex offender and was up to date on his registration.
So you guys had no prior calls to this house before this incident?
My agency would not have had any. The task force doesn't, as a matter of business, take calls for service. I would defer to the sheriff with that, and I would say that I am unaware of any others.
Chief, you said all the victims suffered gunshot wounds to the head. Did they come from the back or the front?
Some were to the side of the head, some were in the back of the head. There were injuries in the front of the head. So I would defer to the medical examiner for a firm answer on that. The short answer is I don't know for sure.
I know you're unsure of when exactly it happened. Is there any reason to believe that he did this and then waited a while and then killed himself later on?
Again, I follow the evidence. I don't have any evidence to indicate that. Anything is possible.
Do you have any time, how long do you think they were at that residence? Were they there gone all weekend, you showed up that Monday? Do you have any idea how long they were at?
My understanding is the girls were friends with Tiffany, who lived at the residence, and were allowed to go and spend the night with her on Saturday, and were supposed to come home Sunday, and when they didn't, they were reported missing. Beyond that, I don't have any information.
What were the ages of all the victims?
Bear with me. I knew there was a document I needed to bring with me. Tiffany was 13.
Ivy was 14.
Michael was 15. Rylee was 17. Ivy was 14. Brittany was 16. Holly was 35, and Jesse McFadden was 39.
Just to confirm, the three, Rylee, Tiffany, and Michael were all Holly's kids, not Jesse's.
That is my understanding, yes.
So these were his stepkids.
Yes.
And with
Did
the
he make
four,
any recordings on his phone of his deeds or try to post anything to social media that you can determine?
We recovered one phone from the residence that we believe is Holly's. We recovered pieces of a phone from a wooded area quite a ways from the residence. We do not know who it belonged to. If that's not his phone, we haven't located his phone.
any other significant pieces of evidence other than those phones, the guns, and of course, the bodies?
We took some other evidence, but nothing I'm willing to comment on.
Is there any indicator that any of the victims were drugged or anything?
Not that I'm aware of.
With the four family members being found together, did they appear to be sleeping?
Without going into a lot of detail, that scene appeared to be staged to me. And that is my opinion based on what I observed.
Staged as in the bodies? were
I don't want to go into details. I think the bodies had been moved from where they were originally killed.
Were they all found outside?
Yes.
Okay.
But they weren't killed at the same time, and some were killed at one occasion, and then just give me the distance you're talking about, and then traveled somewhere else.
Well, there's no way we can know with certainty, but logic tells me that some were killed in an area 400 to 450 yards away from others. So yeah, there would have been some space of time there. Yes, sir.
Yes, are you certain about McFadden's sex offender registry status? We attempted to look him up and didn't find him there.
I am certain of what I've been told. I have not checked it myself.
Are you certain of Brittany Brewer's age? I was told by your father that she was 15.
No, I am not certain. That information was provided to me early on. I made a note of it, and I am not 100% certain of that.
I spoke with a former victim of his who was set to testify against him and the trial he was supposed to be on Monday, and he sent her text messages or Facebook messages the night previous. Have you spoken with her? Do you know anything about those messages?
We have. We've received copies of those text messages. He did make contact with her, and I don't think it was a text message. I think it was a Facebook Messenger message, and tried to lay blame for his situation on her.
So do you believe that the killings happened prior or after those messages?
I don't have any way to know that.
You're the district attorney, correct? And this
That's correct.
person was supposed to have a jury trial Monday?
That was in Muskogee County, correct?
Is that your
No.
jurisdiction?
No, I'm Okmulgee and McIntosh.
Those text messages were blaming the victim for what he had done to these.
No. My interpretation of the Facebook Messenger messages that I read was he was blaming her for his situation with the criminal case in Muskogee County.
Why is Okmulgee Police on this instead of Henryetta?
Well, first of all, the scene was outside of the city limits of either Henryetta or Okmulgee and would fall under the jurisdiction of the sheriff's office. Okmulgee Police is involved because we are part of, and I in fact command, the District 25 Violent Crime Task Force, which conducts violent crime investigations in both Okmulgee and McIntosh County.
Again, with the timeline, I'm sorry, I know you don't have a lot of details, but can you give us an idea of how far apart these killings could be, or if they all happened at once?
I don't have any way to base any speculation on to give you a realistic timeline other than the distance between where the bodies were discovered. It could have happened in quick succession, or there could have been a significant amount of time between them. There's just absolutely no way for us to know.
I know you mentioned it already, but I'm just trying to get clarification. Can you explain again where the bodies were found and how close they were? It kind of sounds like maybe 3 were found close together, and then the other 4 were found like 2 different groups.
Yes, that's correct. From the McFadden residence, which is probably 100 yards off the road, approximately a quarter mile south and east of the residence, there is a creek. And the creek is within a tree line, but just barely. Ivy was found on the west side of that creek, approximately 100 to 150 yards away. Brittany was found. Approximately another 100 to 150 yards away, Rylee was found, and they were both on the east side of the creek. Then the other 4 decedents were all found together approximately another quarter mile more east than south, but southeast of where the 3 girls were found, in a heavily wooded area.
So they were found further away.
Yes, yes.
Chief, what kind of impact does a tragedy like this have on the community?
Well, part of the problem that the community suffers with something like this is everybody wants to understand why. And like I said before, normal people can't understand why. People that perpetrate crimes like this are evil. And normal folks like us can't understand why they do that. So I think that besides the emotional trauma that people suffer because of the realization of what happened to these young kids, trying to figure out why is a challenge they'll never get past.
Was there anybody at the scene before all this happened that you've been able to determine who wasn't killed, or everybody who was there?
I have no evidence that anyone was at the scene leading up to the murders that was not killed.
Do you have any information? Was his residence recently searched, probation, parole? Was he in compliance, et cetera? Was he?
I don't have any information at all along those lines.
Were the bodies found with clothing or normal?
All bodies were clothed.
I know you, I think this was asked, but I'm just going to ask again, please. I mean, 6 people to shoot and kill. Do you think that the 3 girls maybe were trying to run away? Any indicator that anyone tried to run away? That just seems like so many people to try and do that to without someone getting away.
You're having the same difficulty that we have trying to figure out exactly what happened, because all we have is where the bodies were positioned and the injuries to them to try to indicate what happened, and there's just no way to know.
Do you think that this was planned or spontaneous?
No way to know that.
And what is the district attorney's role in this? Now that,
This is my task force.
okay.
It's been reported Jesse McFadden was going to go to McAllister. Do you have any, before this happened, do you have an indication that actually happened, or he was not seen, or any evidence about that?
Based on information that we have available to us currently, we don't think they ever went to McAllister.
How did you all figure out that they didn't ever go to McAllister?
The property in McAllister belongs to Jesse McFadden's family members, and we interviewed them, and they were cooperative and told us that they had never come down there. They hadn't come down there that weekend.
Are there any security or gaming cameras on the property that possibly could have captured anything?
Not that I've been made aware of.
Do we know when he dropped the car to his neighbor? I mean, when was the last sighting of him?
I believe he was sighted in Henryetta proper Saturday night. When I can't tell you when he dropped the car or why. Anything I tell you, be a guess. All right, folks. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, and
Can I ask one more question? I'm
Sure.
sorry. Typically when there's homicides, murders, someone goes on trial. This someone is now deceased. What's next in this investigation to figure out what happened to bring families closure, or what's next?
We have been in contact with the families and have shared information. In fact, we met with the families today prior to this press conference to give them the information that we gave you all, so they would hear it from us and not from the news media. Again, there are questions that will never get answered because the only people that know are no longer here. We will continue to document everything that we have found and anything that we discover in follow-up interviews moving forward and generate a report. We will submit that report to the district attorney's office for her review as a formality because there is no prosecution to be had here.
Can you describe the reaction of the families when this information was delivered?
Today, I was not present, so I'm not sure. Yes, sir.
One last thing, just for the purposes of our understanding, do you think you might be able to help us out and present some type of map of the crime scene that might help us better explain for people how spread out the crime scene is?
Currently, I don't have one for you. At some point in the future, crime scene investigators will map it. I have no idea how long that'll take.
Thank you.
You bet.
At this point, has the case been ruled as a murder suicide?
At this, we don't ever just rule a case, to use your term, but we don't have any evidence to believe that it's anything other than 6 murders and a suicide.
Thank you, Chief.
In closing, what's your message to parents? This has affected so many people. We've heard from victims' families. We have no idea of this person's convictions, previous history. What's your message? And it sounds like I don't know if it was easily available out there. What's your message to parents who see this?
I want to be clear. All right, I do not believe that the parents of Brittany or Ivy did anything wrong, and they are devastated by the loss of their children. That being said, I don't think you can be too careful with your kids. Know where they're going and who they're going to be with. All right, folks, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.